right. Can you guys hear me? Yay. All right. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room. Thank you again for joining us today to hear more about Amazon DataZone. I am Shikha Verma. I'm the head of product for Amazon DataZone. And I'm also joined by my co-presenters, Steve McPherson, the general manager for Amazon DataZone, as well as Mahesh Chandwani, one of our customers, very prized customers who will walk you through his journey with DataZone, which I think will be very useful for a lot of you. All right. And I see a few other customers in the room here who I'll highlight as we get to those sections. Are you excited? Yeah? Did you get some food before coming here, or are you going to try to slide? Okay. All right. Good, good, good. Okay. I'm glad you got some food because we have a packed agenda for you. So at Amazon, we are very customer obsessed, as I hope you all know. So we're going to start and end with the customer. We start with the voice of the customer, which is what did we hear from our customers that led us to create Amazon DataZone. Then we will go through what's new in Amazon DataZone. If you heard Adam's keynote today, there's an exciting thing that he announced. Did anybody hear it? Did anybody hear Adam's keynote today? A few of us, yeah, a few of you said that you heard it, and that's why you came to this session. But we have some exciting stuff to show you there, which will really simplify your cataloging and data discovery quite a bit. So I'm excited about that. We also have 2 demos, so we want you to see some of the new things we have created. So we'll share the demos. And then finally, we end with our customer deep dive, which Mahesh will lead us through the journey on DataZone. And I think you'll find it quite informative for wherever you are in your journey to explore DataZone. So let's get started. Every customer I meet wants to be data-driven. Is there anybody here who doesn't want to be data-driven? No, right? Everybody, that's why you're here. And we want to really make data available to everybody in the organization. But it's hard. So let's just quickly recap what all of you have told us why being data-driven is hard. Number 1, finding the right data is hard, right? So in this particular case, I'm just walking you through a simple example which I am sure resonates with a lot of you on a sales, marketing, and a finance team wanting to share data and collaborate amongst themselves. Does that resonate with anybody here? Yeah? All right, cool. So number 1, finding the data is hard. Even when you find the data, getting access to it, who's the owner, can I trust this data, that is super hard. When you get access to the data, you all have different tools of your choice, right? Some people like visual tools, some people like notebooks, some people like query editors. How do you hook up that same consistent data with the tool of your choice? That is super hard. Then you want to be able to work with a team. Data analysis, analytics in general is a team sport. So how do you share it securely with the team that you're working with is hard. And last but not the least, making sure that you're following the rules and regulations that you're supposed to follow as part of your organization is very hard because governance is currently hidden in each of these different data sources and each of the different tools that you're using for your analysis. All right. So we all want to be enabling self-service analytics for our customers. So what are the key components of self-service analytics? Let's quickly walk through this. Number 1, your users need to be able to discover, understand, and access data across your organization. Number 2, they need to be able to collaborate with multiple people on the same data problem. So same data set, same consistent access, different people, and different tools. Then you need to be able to hook up to a variety of analysis and BI tools. How many people here use just one analytics tool? Nobody. That's what I thought. It's a very diverse landscape, right? So you want to be able to use the tools of your choice with the same consistent data set. Then you want to drive self-service through some sort of a single pane that all your users can go to so that you can point them to one thing and say, hey, go here, start your journey, and go from there. And last but not the least, you want the mechanisms to govern data and tools consistently across the tools of your choice and across the data sources that you want to make available. super duper hard today, but that's what we're after. So as you can see, we have bold ambitions, and a bunch of this you can already do across the sources that we support. So I'd love to just show you some of these things today. So just to recap, self-service analytics, Amazon DataZone, what does it help you do? It helps you catalog, discover, govern, analyze data across your organizational boundaries. So you have a set of data producers who are teams who own the data. These are your data owners. So like revenue is often owned by a finance team. Campaign data is usually owned by a marketing team, and so on and so forth, right? So you want the owners of the data to be able to share that data consistently. The consumers of the data can use that data consistently within the governance guardrails of whatever the producer asks them to do. Let's go a little deeper. How many folks have seen a version of this slide before? I just want to see some of you. Okay, so there's quite a few new people in the crowd here. Awesome, I love it. So what is within this square box in the middle here with DataZone? Number one, we start with something called a domain, which is really an organizational construct that you can use across your organization to decide what is the boundary across which data sharing, data consumption is very free-flowing. Because within that domain, you will have one catalog that you can have for all of that domain. You can have multiple projects and environments to associate the infrastructure that you want to use for your analytics tools. And you can have consistent governance across all of those projects and data sets. So what is a domain, some of you may ask? So often I've found that customers like to think of domains as their lines of businesses, their organizational hierarchy. So it could be sales, it could be marketing, it could be loans for a financial services company, it could be campaign analysis for an e-commerce company. It could be whatever you want it to be, but you need to think of it as how much do you want to share data across that construct of a domain. Because across that domain, you get a portal that you can drive all your users to. So if you have one domain, for example, for your entire company, you can give one data homepage to your entire company and say, go there, look for the data you need, and go from there to start your journey. And of course, this all is available through APIs because most of you, I think, must have either homegrown solutions or other analytic solutions that you're already using that you'd want to hook up with DataZone. So we provide you APIs to be able to do that very easily. And Mahesh actually is going to talk about that as part of his presentation as well. Does this make sense? Can I get a few nods or something? Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. So that ugly picture that we saw earlier, where things were separate, disconnected, what happens when you have DataZone is really you can go to DataZone for all of that. So you can go to DataZone to find the data that you need, request and get access to it, connect it to the tools of your choice, collaborate on it with your team members with this construct of project that we have introduced in DataZone, and follow the governance rules of your company, your line of business, your team, whatever is it that may be. Cool. So we have this cool thing called live poll in this session, which is where we can gather your input on some of these things. Oftentimes, customers think of DataZone as an enterprise data catalog or a data marketplace or an enterprise data ecosystem. So our question is, do you have something like this? And if you could go to this particular QR code or this URL, you should be able to respond to it. So I'll give you a few minutes. Yay, everybody is doing something. Awesome. So just take a few seconds and answer that question, and we'll see the results right here in a few. All right, so let's see. Some folks have licensed a software. Some build it themselves. Some evaluating options right now. And some no. Okay, all right, quite an even spread. I think you're going to find this presentation quite interesting and exciting. At reInvent, we are all about reinventing. So if you have something already, it may give you ideas on how you expand it, you change it. you morph to something else, or you use DataZone. Your choice. All right, thank you, everybody. So let me show you a quick demo of the story that I just told you about, where there is two teams that want to share data across themselves. Sales has created a data set that finance wants access to. Finance also has multiple skill sets and personas that want access to different tools. So let's see how this would work in DataZone. So what we're going to do here is the finance team has a data project in DataZone. They will ask for access to the sales data set. Sales will approve their request, and then finance team members will be able to use a variety of tools of their choice with that data set. So let's go. All right. So this is the DataZone portal, which users can use with their corporate credentials. So you just signed on. This is not in the console. It's outside of the console. So they just come to this web page. The finance team is going to their finance analytics project. On the right, you can see there's a variety of things available for them. There's data warehouse, there's data lake, there is SageMaker, as well as there is QuickSight. SageMaker and QuickSight are available in private preview right now. So if you're interested, please do contact us or your account team and we can hook you up. Now they're looking for the sales data. They just found this data asset, retail sales transactions. They're going to review some information that is available. So there's a README that is easily understandable. Since this was coming from Glue, there is technical information that we have pulled in directly from Glue. You can get that. Now, the interesting parts is some of this other information which is available here. So you can see who the owner for the data is, Will Smith. I trust Will Smith, so I'm going to probably go for this data asset. There is additional information that can be added via metadata forms that you can configure for your domain. So this can all be very standard information across your assets. Here, there's a data quality form so that you can see what kind of data quality score has been given to this particular asset. It just helps you understand and trust the data a little bit better. So the finance team member who was looking for this is like, okay, looks cool. Schema looks cool. I'm going to ask for access. So they click on subscribe and just provide a quick justification. The workflow is, it's routing you to an approval form. Now, as the approval has been created, we'll switch to the sales side, who just got a request for approving this particular data asset. So now they'll go into their incoming request. They see that the request is there. Like, okay, who is asking for this thingy? Click on this. Okay, cool. Frank. Okay, I know Frank. I know he needed this. So I'm going to approve it. Clicked on approve. Go ahead. Now we'll switch back into the finance project. And now if we go to finance analytics and the data tab, you can see that there is a transaction table that's available here. And it's been added to 3 environments. So this is what I'll tell you a little bit more about. Those 3 environments are what gives you the 3 different kinds of tool sets that your finance users wanted access to. So here we go. We went back into the project. We clicked on Athena, and we landed into Athena. In here, the important thing to note is that the context that you were carrying of the project and the table that you just got access to is carried here with you. So you didn't have to go and look for it anywhere. You didn't have to establish new connections, whatnot. It's there, right there. You can preview it, and you were able to get to the data right here in Athena without you having to dig through and find other things. So the plumbing aspect of connecting DataZone to all of these services is what we do in the background so that you don't have to do it yourself. It's readily available for you. Now, the second thing, we have an analyst who wants to go into QuickSight. Again, you saw that there was a quick link there to get into QuickSight. They clicked on QuickSight, and if you've ever used QuickSight before, they just landed in here. You can see that, again, the data context of the project and the data set is carried with them. So they're going to quickly create some analysis on QuickSight here. They click the same table. They're going to query the data quickly. We'll create a quick calculation. How many of you use QuickSight here? Is there QuickSight users? Some of you? Okay, cool. So if you want to use this, let us know and we can hook you up in the private preview that we have going on. We'll create a quick calculation, and then off we go. You can see that the data is available, and you can do all of that very, very quickly. There's also some very cool Gen PI features that were released in QuickSight, if you have got that news. So essentially, all of that is available with your governed data set that you just used using DataZone, so which is super cool. All right, I looked at this. I'm going to create a quick graph. Looks good. I'm done. This works. So you were able to get from DataZone to QuickSight, do your analysis, and now I'm going to quickly show you SageMaker. So again, you're back in DataZone. You clicked on the SageMaker link. Now you want to use a notebook to do your analysis. So you're landing in SageMaker Studio. With this connection, again, your context is carried. You can use the data with Data Wrangler or Studio Notebooks, whatever you are used to using within SageMaker. And save the data set, update the data set, whatever, and it saves it back in its location. How many folks here use SageMaker? A lot more, okay, all right. Well, if you want to use this, let us know. So again, here we are kickstarting our notebook, and we'll do a quick query on the data set that we just showed you so that we can conclude this part of the SageMaker journey. So in here, you'll see that the same table that we were talking about is now available here. You were able to readily get to it. You didn't have to go hunt for it from within the notebook. So that concludes this particular demo. So I know it went rather quick, but I hope you saw that your users were always able to go back to DataZone, start their journey from there. They were able to find their asset, get access to it via the project. There was few people in that project, right? So it's not just a person, it's a team that can be associated with the project, and then they were able to jump into the tools of their choice. It was the same consistent data and same governance across all of those. How cool is that? Like it? Yay! All right, cool. Well, we have cooler stuff coming. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about some of the things that I showed you there. So one of the first things that people ask us when they start their journey with DataZone is, what the heck is domain? And because it's a very key organizing construct for you when you get started with DataZone, especially for large companies. I've seen customers start with one domain. I've seen some companies that want segregation across their domains start with multiple domains. So imagine a scenario where everybody in your organization wants to share data very readily, but there is an HR team, these HR people, they don't want to share their data. So they can get a separate domain where it's very segregated and it's available only to the folks that they enter in their domain. So what they would do is you can decentralize your teams like that, right? You can decide how architecturally you want to organize data across your company and set up domains that way. Then you can associate your existing AWS accounts that you're using across your use of AWS already and associate them with the appropriate domains. So those domains now have the association with a set of accounts, and they can share data amongst themselves. Of course, each domain is connected to the identity provider. You saw that, right? Super simple. No accounts to remember, no IAM accounts, no roles to worry about in the AWS landscape or console. And of course, available across multiple regions. So what does that allow you to do is for each of those domains, you're sharing data assets very readily. And when we say data assets, it's glue tables, it's Redshift tables, we call something called as custom assets, which can be really anything. Anything you want to make available for a variety of folks within your organization for sharing purposes, you can add it in DataZone as a custom asset. And it can come from anywhere too. So anything that you can catalog and glue can be made available as a discoverable item in DataZone, which is a very large list of things. Now, in the more improving the searchability and findability of data, you can associate business glossaries, standard terms. You can create metadata forms. In the sample that I showed you, those little snippets of tables that I had stacked one under the other, where there's a data owner, there is, those are all specific metadata forms that you can create and make available. And everything here is searchable across the catalog. So it's It's really super easy to find stuff. So just a couple of screenshots to show you how easy it is. It's very simple. You search as you type. It searches, gives you things, gives you a listing. There is, I don't know how much you can see the things, but on the right side of the screenshot, you can see on the left panel, you can search things by the glossary term. There's a variety of asset types and facets that you can search on. The asset detail page, which went by quick in our demo earlier, but here you can see the segregation of the metadata forms and how the technical data and business metadata, glossary data is all available together. Okay, projects. So the projects that we talked about earlier, the finance analytics project, it had multiple things on the right. If you remember, there was data warehouse, data lake, SageMaker, QuickSight, Athena. There was just a bunch of things on the right. So those are environments within a project. So your project, think of it as a business use case focused container where you want a few people to work together on a specific problem with a few data sets and a few environments. Project gives you the ability to construct that sort of container for your folks. And then the users and the data gets authorized at the project level, and then the infrastructure and the tools are really at the environment level. So that's how these two things work together. For those of you who may have tried DataZone during preview, environments is something that we have introduced recently with our GA to give you that flexibility of infrastructure. So environments, again, give you, within a project, you can have multiple environments, which allows you to go into the multiple tools that we support. All right, cool. So we are going to go now into some of the automation and GenAI capabilities, and I'd love to invite Steve on the stage here. Let me leave you with our second live poll question. Think about it, and Steve will guide you through the next few slides. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, guys. So of that, it seems like the polls are in, and it seems like there's generally a trend towards larger numbers of people that need access to data in a company, which is intuitive. When you have people, they have data, they want to do work in an information worker environment, they need access to data. That makes sense. And from that perspective, it resonates with one of the reasons that we built DataZone, which was to give people and teams easy access to data. So Shika took you through some of the foundational primitives of Amazon DataZone. The business data catalog itself, the projects system, which allows us to tie infrastructure to grants and things. Now, I want to walk you through the elements of DataZone that actually allow you to do governed sharing. So within DataZone, we have introduced the concepts of publication and subscription as a way of commuting access grants and data between users and between tools. So with that, data producers, pretty obviously, they go into DataZone, they advertise the data that exists, they curate it, and then they publish it to the catalog. Subscribers go to the catalog as well. They search for it with appropriate, with reasonable context on it. And they request access to the data. Now, this is important because normally this happens through SneakerNet, through someone sending an email, some document that goes somewhere, or they're very vast, complicated systems that people have to build to track all these things and understand it. And so we've built these primitives of publication and subscription to facilitate that in distributed organization. So I want to dive into a little bit more to walk you through these. So the publishing flow, if you're looking at publishing data from like the Glue Data Catalog or Amazon Redshift, you can automate publishing through the data sources, which can automatically create assets in inventory in DataZone. If you have data that exists outside of the tooling that we have for automated discovery, so those are AWS Glue Data Catalog, Redshift. These go through automated publishing. If you have data that comes from that is not covered by those individual crawlers or integration through our API, also through the UI, you can do manual publishing of assets, and you can really cover anything that you want, any arbitrary description of things, especially with the flexibility of DataZone now with custom asset types and metadata forms. All of this stuff can be programmatically integrated as well. Once you have these things in DataZone in your project, you can then curate the data, which is important for people to make it discoverable and usable and really connect with why people may want it. So, and then from there, obviously you publish it to the catalog, and that's what makes it discoverable to others. So conversely, if you go to the subscribing side, a business user will have some need for data. They will search for it. They will then find it and request access to the data. This is, again, formalized through the subscription process here. That approval is then reviewed. It is either approved or rejected. And if it is approved, the asset is then commuted, like if it is a Glue table, if it is a Redshift table, if you have custom integration to do your own subscription fulfillment, those assets are then materialized into the appropriate target. So if it's a Glue table, it'll be pushed into the appropriate Glue environment. And as you saw in the demo there, the data was made available in QuickSight and in SageMaker through that process of fulfillment that we have there. So with those primitives there, you have a business data catalog, you have projects that can connect you to tooling, you have a formalized way of your organization in a distributed fashion actually publishing things and subscribing to things and actually being able to track it and to get the appropriate permissions into the infrastructure so people can access the data. And that's a whole bunch of stuff that people have had to build for a long time, and it's been really hard and really frustrating. One of the other big challenges here is actually taking all of that stuff, these basic capabilities, and getting the data to not, beyond just the physical connectivity of it, and getting it to the point where people can actually understand it, like understand what the data is. And when we talk to customers, specifically when they're building out their internal infrastructure for data sharing, there's a huge amount of effort that people have to put into not only like the infrastructure of it, but also just the rote process of documenting data so that people can discover it and identifying tags, identifying different pieces of information, just generally what to do with it. And so with that, I am very excited to announce the integration of generative AI into Amazon DataZone, specifically automated descriptions powered by generative AI. This is something that was announced just today and is now live in the product. So if any of you guys are current Amazon DataZone users, you can go in and check it out on the site. So with this, beyond just facilitating the actual connectivity of data and the rote sort of platform level of it, we're also able to really help to aid search and discovery of valuable assets. We're able to recommend how to use the data and giving guidance to users, all through generative AI, and fundamentally to significantly increase the productivity of teams that want to get up in a data sharing environment. Okay, and with that, I'm going to go into a demo and show you this. So in this, we'll pick up from the same finance team. Finance team has a data set, and I'm going to take this from nothing all the way to the end, where we've published it into the catalog, and we're going to use the automated generation to fill out the whole catalog information for it. So with that, we'll kick it off. Okay, so I'm a user. I'm going in. I'm going to go create the data. So we're starting from nothing. Here I am. I'm clicking into Athena. First, I'm going to do like most of us. I'm going to create a table. And that table has some fairly cryptic names in it of columns and things. So this is it. It exists physically now. Now I'm going to go and make it discoverable to users. So I'm going into DataZone. I'm going to run an automated metadata job. I'm kicking that thing off now. And I'm going to see the results of that coming back. And you can see that DataZone has already figured out how to take the cryptic name of the table and turn it into something readable as in payments online. Now, I know that this specifically needs to change because it's about the US market, so I can edit it, because this is what you do, is you curate your metadata form here. So from there, I'm now going to go look at some other interesting data in the schema. We've gone from RGN for region to actual full names of columns, and all of this just started from the create statement that we had a minute ago in Athena. So this is great. Now I've gotten some column names out of it, and I've gotten the table name stuff, but what if I could actually fully describe the data with that one click that we just did there? I have now generated thoughtful, computer-generated thoughtful summaries of the data, how to use it, and what it means within the organization. Now, after reviewing it, I can see it's pretty good. I'm actually going to go look now at it's also extended the descriptions in the columns as well to take us even further from the cryptic names all the way into something that somebody who is coming in to read it could fully understand what this data set is, and they could discover it in the catalog. And we've gone now in 1 minute and 40 seconds, as you just saw in the video here, we've gone from something being created from nothing in Athena, in infrastructure, and being pushed all the way through with full documentation into an area where people can easily discover the data across organizations and use. So before this generative AI integration, before automated descriptions, where you may have started with something that had very cryptic column names like we have here and very sparse information, this probably looks familiar from every wiki that anyone's ever created of trying to help people understand data. As you start with the physical stuff that's obvious and just hope that the users will figure it out. The context will let people know that RGN obviously means region and CTRY equals country. And with that, and with this integration, we have now taken that very sparse information and made it something that is fully searchable within DataZone, and very practical, useful inspirations on what is the domain of the data, what do the individual columns mean, how can you use this in processing, what sort of analysis might you want to do with it. And this, what previously would have been hours of work, is done in a matter of seconds and is instantly available in your organization for everyone to benefit from. So this reduces the infrastructure work that you've had to historically build and the manual work and thoughtfulness of having someone actually sit down, go through hundreds of tables or hundreds of data sets and actually describe it in a way that the human on the other end can make sense of it. So that's very cool. We just got to GA. We're obviously cranking out stuff as we're hearing from customers. The generative AI space is critically important for us, and we are moving quickly to extend these capabilities. What I described earlier in the context of publication and subscription, when you think of what publication and subscription means in terms of a project, where a project may represent a daily report or a weekly report, you want to give access to the purpose of that report. You don't want to give it to a person, Sally, who may win the lottery and go somewhere. So that convention of the project creates a closure of access grants that can be used generally to govern automated processes in general, teams who want to interact with data, but also can be used fundamentally to govern the access that generative AI processes have. So if you want to say that training this model or using this RAG application, I wanted to have these specific grants. These are the things that come through DataZone projects, and we'll be building further integration with AWS services to make that easier and easier. Similarly, we'll be extending the search capabilities of the catalog to have interactive chats where you can say, hey, what is the data related to this business report, or I'm trying to find this event, and then actually getting to the point where we can ask questions of saying, hey, I want to figure out, there was an event in our system last week, I want to understand which customers were impacted by it. And interacting with the LLM, which has full understanding of the catalog, which is otherwise public within the domain, public to any user, as if you were going to a human that understood every single thing that was in the catalog, and they could guide you through, yes, you want to get that, yes, you want to get that, and then say, here's the type of analysis that you want to do. These are the things that we're continuing to build on with this work in generative AI. With that, I will hand off to Mahesh.
Hi, hope everyone can hear me. All good? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mahesh Chandwani, and I lead the data platforms team at CPPIB, also known as Canadian Pension Plan Investments. We are an investment management firm based out of Canada. Today, I'll be sharing with you our experience of using DataZone service. But before that, a very quick word about my employer. CPP Investments is a global investment management organization. We are stewards of Canadian Pension Plan. The fund is valued over $500 billion. And comparatively, we rank against the world's topmost pension funds. According to a recent report by Global Sovereign Wealth Fund, CPPIB delivered the highest 10-year returns of 10.9%, whereas other pension funds averaged 7.4%. In just over 20 years, we have grown CPP assets from 36 billion to little over 570 billion. That's an amazing feat. So how do we do that? Of course, a lot of credit goes to an amazing, talented team at the fund, but there's a lot of rigor as far as processes and supporting technologies are concerned. There's segregation of duties across multiple investment functions, and every investment decision is validated. This requires a lot of information flow across various departments, and data sharing is key. And all of this data has to be highly accurate, and there's no room for any inconsistency in our business. All right, so before I start, let's talk about our architecture before and after we moved to the cloud. In the legacy state, to solve their data needs, departments typically copy data from source operational systems to their local databases. And this was done typically using project-specific batch ETL pipelines, which were built and managed by central IT teams. We used combination of Informatica, DataStage, and other ETL standard tools. Over a period of time, this led to a lot of data sprawl and data consistency issues. And there was also heavy reliance on central IT teams and lack of basically reliance on tribal knowledge because of lack of metadata. Departments were losing trust in the data, and teams were doing manual reconciliations just to ensure that the data is accurate. And in the process, they were wasting a lot of valuable time and effort. To solve our legacy state data problems, we built a cloud-native data platform on Amazon using AWS, data mesh principles. First, we federated the ownership of the data to the teams that had the data knowledge, essentially creating data products. Next, we created a data platform that secures and virtualizes all data in the organization, enabling in-place data sharing. This solved our data sprawl problem, minimized our data consistency issues, as well as simplified our ETL landscape. Every box in this diagram, architecture diagram, you see is an AWS account. In the center, you see a data platform account, which virtualizes all data in the organization through a centralized enterprise data catalog. This architecture is an implementation of hub and spoke data mesh pattern. Some of you may be familiar with this one. In this, the hub enables federation, and the spokes are various data domains which house the data products as well as data producers and consumers. The hub does not contain any data. Instead, it manages the entire data mesh via a central control plane. And the control plane integrates and orchestrates various services across all these multiple AWS accounts. The control plane also collects and stores metadata centrally, and it enables data producers and consumers to collaborate amongst themselves in a self-service manner. We designed our data platform with self-service in mind. We were very conscious of avoiding ticket-based culture. Building a self-service interface and a unified abstraction over a distributed data mesh which spawns across multiple AWS accounts requires a lot of technical expertise, custom engineering, and integration across multiple AWS services. We created a custom control plane which simplifies platform onboarding experience and runtime operations by hiding the technical complexities of various AWS services. The control plane onboards an AWS account onto the platform, and it creates various components required for entitlements, security, data catalog, observability, and many other data services. The control plane also democratizes data services so that producers and consumers can collaborate amongst themselves using the data platform in a self-service manner. Leveraging the control plane, a data producer can publish the data onto the platform by themselves. At data onboarding time, they specify basic set of minimum metadata, which control plane takes, applies entitlements, and shares it across the organization, leveraging the enterprise data catalog. Consumers search and discover the data using an in-house built data portal and request access to it if needed. And the control plane provisions the user-level access based on the rules set up by publishers. So all of this workflow I just explained is in-house built. So in summary, our custom control plane democratizes data services, it accelerates mesh implementation, as well as simplifies mesh operations. Building a comprehensive data mesh control plane requires a lot of technical skills and a lot of maintenance overhead, which we always wished if we could somehow offload to a vendor as a service. Unfortunately, there's no vendor out there in the market which implements a comprehensive data mesh as a product. When we heard the announcement of the DataZone service, we were very excited because it aligned very well with our vision of self-service, as well as democratization of producers and consumers. DataZone resonates very well with our control plane, and we're very happy to have partnered with AWS during the build of this service. It not only helps us simplify our architecture, but also makes the interactions between our producers and consumers almost frictionless. And most importantly, it's an AWS managed service and appears to be the missing layer or the link that we're always finding from a vendor to simplify and mature our architecture. So far, we have had very positive experience with the service. Our data stewards really like the data portal interface, which helps them curate the data using business name generation, metadata forms, as well as business glossary. We really like the environments concept, as it helps encapsulate and accelerate data enablement across multiple accounts, across multiple consumption patterns. The managed subscription workflow and its integration with lake formation integrates very well with our service account provisioning use case. And also the automatic data sharing across multiple AWS accounts, which also integrates with lake formation, simplifies our custom engineering solution for catalog sharing. And these were all parts of the control plane. So as the next step, we are working very closely with AWS and DataZone and moving forward in adoption of DataZone in our platform. And this will help replace parts of our control plane as well as our in-house built data portal. We're also looking forward to test and integrate the new GenAI features. And we're also working with the DataZone team on integrating additional capabilities into the service, such as tag-based access control, data quality, data profile, and data lineage, all inbuilt into the DataZone, which will further improve data comprehension and data security and trust in the data for our consumers. We continue from CPP-IP side to very closely work with AWS to mature and simplify how our data products are built, discovered, and consumed across the organization. We appreciate AWS for their customer-focused approach and building solutions for customers like us so that we can focus on solving business challenges. That's all I had for my lightning talk. More than happy to connect offline and have some more detailed discussions. Feel free to connect, and thank you very much for listening in. Back to you, Shikha.
That was awesome. Thank you, Mahesh and Steve. Was that awesome? Yay! Fired up? Okay, cool. All right, so I see a few more customers in the crowd here, but just wanted to highlight a few more stories which are all available online for you guys to see. Bristol Myers Squibb, Itau, Garden Health, Hololuz, a variety of companies across many industries have started using DataZone, and we're getting really good, interesting feedback. And like Mahesh mentioned, we love working closely with customers, so we continue to enhance the service based on all of this feedback. So with that, let's do our final live poll question, and then we'll go into Q&A. Based on what you know so far and what we've shown you, does this fill a current gap in your portfolio? We would love to know. Let's take a few. Okay, cool. Need to learn more. Awesome. Well, that's why we are here. We have a ton of sessions in the next few days as well. If you are just hearing about DataZone, please do check out additional sessions we have. I'll share more details here. But, well, thank you folks so much.
Thank you.
Do take a couple minutes to put in the feedback in the survey. Really appreciate you guys.